Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today we are going to make some sourdough discard waffles with some hash browns, bacon, eggs, kind of just a little quick Sunday brunch today. So let's start by getting our bacon cooking up. I've got a ½ pound of bacon left over from yesterday, our skillet potatoes. So we're going to cook that up and then we'll cook our sausage in the bacon grease because that's just the best. This guy doesn't want to come out of here. There we go. So I'm just going to kind of pull. Just going to use my hands to pull them apart. It's a little bit easier. And we'll let them cook up. Then we're going to shred our potatoes to start making our hash browns. We'll make little hash brown patties. This is a very stringy bacon today. It's going to have a lot of fat on it, which will be extra crispy bacon. We're going to kind of season up our shredded potatoes with some onion powder, garlic, salt, some fresh green onions, and a little bit of Mrs. Dash's original seasoning. And we're going to make our sourdough waffles that are going to have a slight vanilla flavor to it. I'll wash my hands real quick. Okay, let's get this heated up. I'm going to start cooking it over kind of a medium temperature. And let's get our potatoes shredded here. So I'm just going to be using two russet potatoes because we've kind of got a smaller group today. A couple of my kids spent the night at their grandparents for a little sleepover. So it's kind of nice to have a smaller crew, especially because we've got lots of soccer today. So we're going to shred these up and then we'll season them, but we're going to kind of pat out some of that extra liquid that gets into it. There we go. And you can see one potato makes a lot of hash browns. So you don't need as many as don't think that you need a potato per person because that would be a lot. It's not like a baked potato. You need a lot less. I'm just going to try to get these. And then I got my other one. But look, just one potato. Just see how much potato hash browns you get from one little russet potato. Okay, let's get our eggs going. And I will say, yes, you can buy frozen pre-grated hash browns, but they taste so much better when they're freshly grated. They're just not as gritty. They crisp up so nicely. I feel like frozen, then they get a little bit soggy and more mushy. This is going to give you that nice crisp on them. Okay. Just going to give a good shake out. Make sure we get all of this potatoes in here. And then I'm going to take a paper towel and blot out the extra moisture in it. Again, just kind of soak it up. And that's just going to give a nice crisper fry up on them. They're not as waterlogged as say zucchini is, but you do want to just take out some of that extra liquid. There we go. I'm going to add this into our bowl. And then we're going to add in some green onions. Let me grab my knife over here. We've got 2 green onions. I'm not going to use the white parts of them because I don't want that strong flavor in there, but we'll kind of slice up our smaller bits for this and throw them in there. That way you'll have this kind of fresh onion flavor in it as well. And then we're going to season it with some onion powder, garlic, salt, and a little bit of Mrs. Dash's original. Here we go. So I've got our green onions. And I'm going to put in looks like I got about a tablespoon of onion powder left. we're going to put that in there. And we're going to shake on about a teaspoon of garlic salt. And maybe a teaspoon and a half of Mrs. Dash's original. Good job. And I'm just going to give these a nice kind of little stir up, kind of coat them with this. And then when we're ready to fry them up, we'll kind of squeeze them into a patty and fry them up. So we got to get our oil nice and hot first. I just want to mix all those spices around so that they're well seasoned. Or I might put my tongs. Spread out our bacon here. And kind of let it crisp up. And then we're going to start, I'm going to start heating up my oil, but we'll start also making our batter for our waffles. So I'm going to put a thin layer of oil on the bottom of this pan because you just want enough to kind of make sure that whole bottom is coated in the oil to fry it. We'll flip it on both sides, but you don't need to have the little potato patties submerged in it. Okay, I'm going to start heating this up on high, and then we'll turn it down a little bit lower. But let's start with our waffles now. So we're going to use, these are sourdough waffles. So we're going to use 1.5 cups of sourdough discard. So I've got both my jars out because I'm going to have to steal from both. Okay. So we'll get a cup from this jar, or just about. You want to always save a little bit because you don't need a lot of starter left over to make new start, like to feed it up. You just got to have a little bit left in your jar. And so we're going to need 1.5 cups of starter. There we go. That should be just about. I'm going to take these two guys over here. And this is going to give you all the benefits of sourdough. It'll give you a little bit of that sourdough tart flavor. It's also just a great way to get rid of a lot of discard if you need to feed up your sourdough. My kids love sourdough waffles and pancakes. There we go. So we've got our 1.5 cups. And now I'm going to add in 1.5 cups of whole milk. I prefer whole milk over just regular milk because the little bit more fat content just makes it a little bit nicer. And I'm just going to give these a nice toss. I'm going to turn them down to about a 4 now, so they really just have time to fry up in their grease. And then I'm going to grab my eggs. We're going to add in a half a stick of melted butter, which is 1/4 cup. We're going to start mixing these up, and then we're going to add in 2 eggs. We're starting with all of our wet ingredients, and then we'll add our flour in at last, but you always want to just lightly mix in your flour so you have a fluffier waffle. If you overmix it, it'll make it firmer, more dense. Okay, and now we're going to add in 2 eggs. There we go. That one, I'm going to wash my hands. There were so many. My egg just completely cracked apart on me. And 2. I'm going to try to pop my yolks. And we're going to mix our eggs in. And this is why also I don't add my flour till the very end, so that I can thoroughly mix all of my other ingredients before I need to add in the flour. There we go. And then we're going to add in 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda and a teaspoon of salt. So 1.5 teaspoons is the same as a 1/2 tablespoon. So I'm going to add in a 1/2 tablespoon of baking soda. This is what's going to give our waffles their pop. Just making sure I get any of those clumps out. And then a teaspoon of salt, or just a smidge under a teaspoon. You don't need a full teaspoon, especially if you've used salted butter. And then we're going to add in a half a tablespoon of vanilla extract so we can get a lovely vanilla flavor in our waffle. We're going to mix this up. Then we're going to add in about a 1/4 cup of sugar. We don't use a lot of sugar in our batter because most of the sweetness is going to come with whatever you want to top your waffles with. So they're not going to be an overly sweet waffle, but they'll have that slight sweetness to it. And then you can add more flavor later. Okay, we're going to add in a 1/4 cup of sugar. Let's get this mixed up. And then, as you can see with that baking soda in here, we are getting this nice fluffy batter for it. And now we're going to add in our flour. And this, we're going to use 1.5 cups of flour. And all-purpose flour is what you want to use. So I've got 1 and 1/2 cups of flour. And now we're going to mix this together until it's just, barely combined. Again, you don't want to over mix your batter because you want a fluffier pancake, not a dense, firm one or waffle. Okay. Let's get this mixed up, just making sure we've got a lot of that foaminess from the baking soda on here. So I just want to make sure. I'm just going to do, and you're going to see, as you can see, once we kind of get that baking soda foam mixed in, it's a nice chunky batter. That's what you want. It's going to be a little bit thicker because we are using a butter base for this versus a like a oil base. There we go. So it should be perfect now. Looks like it. I'm going to bring my waffle iron right over here. Before we do that, I want to flip my bacon. And I'm just going to put a smidge of butter in here just because it didn't sweat out quite as much as I wanted in the fat to get this a real nice crisp on it. And just add a little bit more butter. Will give you a little bit more fat to crisp it up. If you don't have enough fat in your pan, the butter will become chewy instead of that nice crispiness on it. So there we go. That should make it perfect. My oil is getting there. So let's get our first batch in. I'm going to go grab a cup to kind of scoop this. Let's do this one. And I'm going to turn my oil down because I can tell it's nice and hot. We'll put our first potato patties in here, and then we'll scoop our batter in because the oil is nice and hot.
You got to request to move the mic up.
Oh, okay.
I think it's falling into the crease area.
There we go. Hopefully that's better. Okay, we're going to take with our potato patties. You're just going to grab a ball, and you're just going to make and smush out any of the extra liquid, and then we'll just drop it right in there. You want to smush it down because you don't want it to be super fat because you want it to get nice and crispy on all edges. There we go. But these are such good little hash browns, like fried potato patties. They're so good. And I feel like you can spice them up so many different ways to kind of really change how they taste. I was almost thinking about doing them in the waffle maker too to give you those crispy waffle hash browns, but I wanted to save them. I'm going to give a rotate. And once we've got a nice golden brown crisping edges over all of it, we will know that they're ready.
Can you go over what's in the potatoes?
Yes, it is just 2 shredded russet potatoes, fresh green onions, onion powder, garlic salt, and a little bit of Mrs. Dash's original seasoning blend. Okay, let's add in our waffle mix. And I'm going to pour it around. Now you always have to be a bit careful not to put too much batter in or it will pop out. My problem is I'm always sometimes a little too careful and then I don't fill it up enough. Here we go. So we've got our first one in. I'm going to push start, flip it. We'll do the second side. So this is, I always call this is our hotel waffles, because you know whenever you stay at a hotel or like one of those that have the continental breakfast, they've got this waffle maker there. It's always my kids' like favorite things to make their own waffles. And when they say they made their own waffles, as in they poured the batter in and waited until it beeped. But gotta love these Belgian waffle makers. There we go. It has a nice little timer on it, so when it is ready, it will go off. Okay, I'll set that right here. Our potatoes are just about ready to flip, at least one of them is, but I'm going to give our bacon a little flip over here. Kind of have it crisp up. You grab a spatula out. Got one right over here. But look at this nice golden brown fry that we have on it. It's getting it nice and crispy. The trick is you don't want to do your oil too hot, or what will happen is you'll char those outside potatoes, but that inside bit will still be like tough and not like soft yet and tender. So just make sure you don't over like heat the oil up. So I had it up high, but then I turned it down low so that it would have like just this nice kind of crunch to it when it cooks up, a little bit slower, but will be delicious. I think I'm going to actually slide this guy over, and we can add one more little patty right here. So again, I just take it and I'm going to really smush it, and you're going to want to like squeeze that extra liquid out, just because if you know when you add liquid to oil, it will cause it to pop. So you just want to get a little bit of that extra out. Add that right there to start crisping up. And this guy, I think, is just about ready to flip, almost. I'm going to grab a plate with a paper towel down so I can remove these off so they'll stay nice and crispy. And then we'll have that for those to go there. And let's get our bacon. We're going to also cook our sausage in our bacon grease so that it gets that nice extra little flavor to it. Gives it a crunchy edge, which my kids really love. They always talk about when we're on camping how they love camping sausage the best, and that's because it's fried in bacon grease. So whenever I am frying up bacon grease and I'm doing sausages, I always make sure I pop them in there. Okay. These two look like they're ready to flip. There we go. And it looks like our first waffle might be ready to come out here. Okay, let's reset. And let me check. Looking good. Looking beautiful. I'm going to go grab a plate to put this on, so I'll close it right back up. And a fork. Now, the difference between if you want a softer waffle, you're going to cook it less time. If you want a crunchy, like outer stuff, you'll cook it a little bit longer. So my family, half of them like it soft, and then the other half, well, I should say one in my family wants it a really crunchy waffle. It's my oldest daughter. But here, look at our beautiful waffle. We're going to spray it down. Also, spraying down your kind of griddle in between is going to give you more crispy edges on it. Let's get our bacon turned down just a smidge here. We're going to add. We're almost ready for the bacon to come out, which will be perfect. Just trying to get everyone nice crispy edge on it. Okay. Let's get this. Pour a little bit more. There we go. And look at that one. Perfect golden brown. Gorgeous waffle. We're going to spray again down in between. And we'll put our waffles maker mix in. And then we will flip our hash browns. I think one was about ready to come out. There we go. Let me push start. Perfect. Nice. That a little bit longer. I still want it a little bit darker than this.
You got a question? What brand is that waffle maker?
This is a KitchenAid Pro Line waffle maker. I've had this one for, okay, I'm going to say loosely said I had this one. This was my mom's waffle maker from when I was in high school. And I took it from her because she doesn't make waffles. And if she ever wants it, she can come back and get it. We're only a few miles away. But it's like 20 years old, but it is still cooking fantastic and amazing. But it's their Pro line, which is like their professional series, which is really good. But I absolutely love it. They unfortunately do not make it anymore, which is why I have it still and she does not. Okay, these are just about ready on there. I'm going to just turn this up a smidge. We're going to get these out. You're going to want to put your grease side down on the paper towel because you want that to soak up all of that extra grease in there instead of like inverting it and putting it on the top, because then you'll have the grease soak into the little potato patty. Let's grab our bacon out here because it's nice and crispy. Beautiful. Lovely. Just trying to get all that. You want to get the grease side facing down so your bacon crisps up the most. There we go. And in our nice hot oil, we're going to add our sausages. And I have it turned down to nice and low so they're not super long. These are just frozen sausages that we're going to heat up. So you don't want to cook them too high because you want them to de-thaw in here. So we'll give them a roll. And then let's make up the rest of our little hash brown patties. Here, I'm going to see if this guy is ready for a flip yet. Not quite. Okay. Again, we're going to squeeze out the extra bit of our liquid here. And you could also make these much bigger if you wanted to, but I just like to make little bite-sized ones that are kind of be perfect, you know, hand size. But you could, if you wanted to, you could make a huge, big one, almost make like a hash brown giant like tortilla. And then you could put like fried eggs on it and fold it up and make it like a taco, hash brown taco. Okay, let's get our last bit here. I find russet potatoes work really well for these over like the Yukon Gold or whatnot. There we go. Let me wash my hands and we'll check on our waffle. Looking good. So we've got that nice golden brown edges and the ridges. Again, you want to spray this down because that's going to give you that extra crunch on it. And I think we only have enough. This will make 5 big Belgian waffles. Let's see. all of these in here. Okay. We're going to flip this. Pop this right over here. Our one on the bottom should be ready too. And looking good. Again, nice, beautiful golden brown waffle. This is our sourdough discard. Waffles, hint of vanilla and a little bit of sugar. And let's get these. One looks like it's nice and ready. That's perfect. Golden brown. That one still needs a little bit more time. I'm going to rotate it because my top one's nice and hot. And take these. Let's get our fried eggs cooking up. I'm going to give it a little bit of our bacon grease in here. It's going to give our fried eggs a little bit of flavor. And then we're going to do a little bit of melted butter. Here we go. And we're going to just cook these up. I'm just going to do whole fried eggs today. That way when you can actually pop your little yolk and put your hash browns in it, which will be delicious. So let's get our back burner, wrong burner, up and high. We'll melt it down. Here we go. And again, just slide these. We've got them cooking over our level 5, so medium heat. Again, with it, you don't want to cook them too high. If you cook them too high, you'll burn them because you want them here, if you see it, you want them to get nice and crispy all the way around, but you'll have a nice little tender spot in the middle. Season them up because if you don't have enough seasoning on them, they'll be bland for it. Okay. Looks like our sausages are almost done. Again, these were already frozen. We're just kind of cooking them up in this bacon grease. As you see, they're getting this nice little crunchy shell on them, which will just make them so much more flavorful. And then we're going to add in our eggs once our butter is melted. And honestly, I might just pop my sausages out and put my over here because I want to do 5 eggs. I'm not sure if I'm going to have 5 eggs in here. So let's add our bacon over here. Nice. And then I'm going to take my melted butter, bacon grease. We're just going to add it back in here so that I can cook them on here because don't think I'll be able to squeeze 5 eggs in there to cook them as evenly as I want to. And we've got 1. We're just going to do a simple fried egg because my ones who hate fried eggs are at their grandparents' house today. So my oldest daughter and I, fried eggs are our favorite. So whenever we can get them, we'll have them. Looks like our dog right now, he has a very short snout. And so he gets these moments where he kind of pops up. This needs a little bit longer. You see how it's not quite completely crisped up yet. So I'm going to let it get there. I'm actually going to flip it over and let it kind of crisp up in the other side so that that's a little bit more direct heat. Let's flip these. Beautiful. So we're getting our nice crispy hash browns here. And we're going to do, what size is that? We're going to pop our lid on here, kind of quicken up the process of it. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of salt and we'll sprinkle this over. And then we will be ready to serve up breakfast. So really quick breakfast today because we're going to be running out the house in a little bit for soccer. But I want to make sure everybody's fueled up for today. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of salt on each one. I'm going to do my eggs over easy because I prefer that nice kind of crispy syrup on both sides. Makes just a much better egg. Okay, let's check how it's much better. See, we got this nice crispy waffle here. Beautiful. So a mountain, look, we made this mountain of sourdough waffles here. You see? So that, 1.5 cups of starter, 1.5 cups of flour, 1.5 cups of milk makes a good amount. I will say these waffles are very filling, so you're not going to eat one per person. It's more like a half to 3/4. Okay, let's check on our eggs here. I'm going to turn this down. And I'm just going to kind of separate them apart so I can give a nice little flip on them. Now these will have little brown bits on them because we cooked them up in that bacon grease, which will give it a bit more flavor. But before I flip them, I want to make sure I separate them so I don't break the yolks because I have a tendency to break yolks. I already broke one yolk. I didn't even flip it yet. Okay. When I do the second cook on the other side, I do a really fast cook. I don't want it to cook too long. Just quick to give it a quick sear on that other side. See here, look at all that nice little bacon grease on there. It's going to give it all so much more flavor than just traditional butter. So just about 30 seconds on this side for that kind of final edge. This is looking perfect. Got our last kind of hash brown. These two need a little bit longer, but they've got nice and crispy. And now we're going to start taking out our eggs. There we go. You see how you're going to get this nice kind of, it's like a pocket in there where you've got that egg white sealed up over the yolk, but the yolk is still going to be nice and runny inside. And again, the little brown bits are the bits from the bacon grease. Of course, I flip it over that way. So they're going to add that salty, delicious extra flavor for this. Okay. Let's see how these are cooking. These are almost done. I'm going to go grab a plate and we're going to serve up. But we've got our little waffles and everything. Let's grab a plate out of the dishwasher. And let's serve up our breakfast. Let's come over here. I'm going to remove these guys off of our heat and move this guy out of the way. So I have plenty of room. And then I'm going to go grab real quick my syrup because you've got to have our delicious Dolly Parton syrup. Okay, let's grab a nice big hot one. So we've got our sourdough discard waffle made with 1.5 cups of our sourdough discard, a teeny bit of sugar, butter, vanilla, just a great waffle with nice crispy edges. Then we have our crispy hash browns made with shredded potatoes, green onions, onion powder, salt, just lovely flavor. Our fried egg that we did over easy in our bacon grease, so it has little bits of bacon bits in it. And our sausages that we cooked up in our bacon grease. And let's not forget our little bit of bacon for just a delicious, quick, easy Sunday brunch made in like 30 minutes, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, kind of show you what we're making for our family and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page. So if you ever want to recreate any of these recipes at home, you can just go to that link, search for what we made, and you can watch and cook along with us again. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront that has all of our different cooking gears and gadgets in it. We've got our pans, our knives, our cutting boards, all the different things we use in our kitchen for you guys to check out. But again, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe.